now send America astronauts into space.
As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA.
You gotta be feeling like you gave a freshman a chance and he just lit you up at the party. Got like, who brought him? Who brought this dude? Hi, my name is Reese Waters and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page, and shout out to all my new members that have joined. It has been a rough last few months for Elon Musk. There was that time that his own child attacked him publicly on his platform. I understand your new angle is this Western values Christian family man thing, but it's such a weird choice. You're not a family man. You are a serial adulterer who won't stop effing lying about your own children. You're not a Christian. As far as I'm aware, you've never stepped foot in a church. You're not some bastion for equality and progress. You called Arabic the language of the enemy when I was 6 and have been sued for discrimination multiple times and are from apartheid South Africa. You're not saving the planet. You do not give a F about climate change, and you're lying about multi-planetary civilization as both an excuse and because you want to seem like the CEO from Ready Player One. I would mention the birth rate stuff, but I'm not touching that weird 14 words breeder S with a 10-foot pole. You single-handedly disillusion me with how gullible we are as a species because somehow people keep believing you for reasons that continue to evade me. You know, MAGA loves to talk about people's families, but somehow they never get into Elon's. There were those discrimination suits. Tesla, where Musk serves as CEO, is currently facing a lawsuit from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission over allegations of racial abuse against black employees, including racial slurs and the discovery of nooses in the workplace. Furthermore, Tesla has been accused of not addressing complaints of racial abuse and even retaliating against employees who spoke out, which really put him railing against DEI into a much better context. Elon Musk's initial DEI comments began when he responded to a user's speculation about the IQ scores of United Airlines pilots who graduated from historically black colleges and universities, insinuating that these scores might be lower than those of Air Force pilots. There was that debacle with Don Lemon, where he claimed, as somebody who emerged from apartheid South Africa, he had no idea the impact of the color of his skin.
If you look at history, if you study history broadly, everyone was a slave. Everyone. We are all descended from slaves.
Yeah.
Well, all of us.
Yeah.
It's just a question of when. What advantages did my color of my skin give me? Well, if we keep talking about it nonstop, it will never go away.
Then there was this little nugget from that interview, which showed us exactly how his own self-esteem works. It's not that he can actually build a logical argument. He believes that he's right because his sycophants assert that he's right.
There's no evidence
they have
of that.
not.
There's no evidence about lowering standards, and I think that there is.
Leave that as a false statement you're making.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I think
the interesting thing is, when this is posted on the X platform, there will be a whole bunch of things that rebut what you said and what I said.
Right.
And so people can then make their own decision based on the replies and the rebuttals and the community notes.
And now we understand exactly what his motivations in buying Twitter. I know he all said that he believes in free speech and he wants this to be the town square. This looked like any town square you recognize? Maybe 1980s DC right after crack hit. That's how Twitter looking these days. Oh, I'm sorry, X. Then you add to that the fact that when you reinstate all these trolls that have been banned and you settle on community notes in order to clean up the rampant misinformation on the platform, and you see that the man himself is one of the most community noted users on the platform. That would be like Mark Zuckerberg constantly getting his Facebook posts taken down for violation of policy. That would be what would be happening, you know, if they had policy at Twitter, which clearly they don't, because he was able to get off this dandy tweet after Trump's first assassination attempt. Something Don Lemon decided that he even had to address. I thought he was done with Elon Musk after the interview, but he couldn't let this slide.
So he's called everyone who works in this building the enemy of the people. Crooked Joe, Crooked Hillary, Crooked Kamala, Comrade Kamala, deranged Jack Smith, bird brain Nikki Haley, bloodbath if he's not elected. There won't be another election if he's not elected. Communist, Marxist, fascist, left-leaning that live like vermin. Sons of bitches to NBA players. Shithole countries. Haiti was one, and now he's blaming Haitian immigrants for things. Blood coming out of her wherever, as he talked about Megyn Kelly.
Then there was that disastrous first collaboration with Trump on the platform, which was the most irony I've seen since Alanis Morissette. Yes. Yes, in fact, it was. That's also the same interview where Trump delighted in Elon Musk busting up unions, which was extremely valuable, you know, to the Democrats. Well done.
I mean, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love
if it were formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, "You want to quit?" They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, "That's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone." So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good.
You also unmask yourself as a purely right-wing operative, which totally destroys that whole idea of, you know, free speech and completely kneecaps the commercial viability of your platform. Well done. But this right here gotta be the absolute worst. This was his reaction being brought on stage by Trump in his return to Butler, Pennsylvania.
And his rocket company is the only reason we can now send America astronauts into space. Take over, Elijah.
You know what? I think I've seen a jump like that before. Or was it here? Nah, I got it.
Jump again. Jump again. Very good. Jump very high. It was good. Thanks, Elon.
Now, somehow, after embarrassing himself to such a degree, which I myself have done as a freshman in high school in order to curry favor with the upperclassmen, I have been here. I wasn't a whole adult when this happened, but I, in fact, have been here. I at least had the decency to tuck my tail and leave. Not Elon Musk.
Hi, everyone. As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA.
He's a real life supervillain. Yeah. But a real life one, not like, because in the movies, supervillains work because you can write the script and you can make them more viable than they would actually be. But in real life, these kind of supervillains are so filled with personal foibles that it compromises their ability to be productive. He would get up and say something like, "I'm dark MAGA." That's That's what a real life supervillain would say, something that corny. Because in the movie, we would walk out. Y'all know you would.
Well, first of all, I want to say what an honor it is to be here. And, you know, the true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire.
Well, I would actually say the true test of somebody's character is how they treat the least of us. But I understand, by virtue of the discrimination lawsuits and the whole South Africa, I get why you wouldn't go with that one.
And we had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist pumping after getting shot. Fight, fight, fight!
Where does not being able to jump in a coordinated fashion fit in that? I'm just curious, like in your continuum, where would this?
Reason we can now send America astronauts into space.
Where would that be?
Now, America is the home of the brave. And there's no truer test than courage under fire. So who do you want representing America?
Not Elon Musk. No. Not Elon Musk. Matter of fact, I don't even want to hear that question from you.
And I think this election, I think it's the most important election of our lifetime. This is no ordinary election. The other side wants to take away your freedom of speech.
Oh, free speech. You mean like this? Oh, you mean like this? That's kind of free speech? That's it?
They want to take away your right to bear arms. They want to take away your right to vote effectively.
Now here you see the impact of all the people that have fled the platform, because under old Twitter, where they had all the newest late-breaking information, he would be very well acquainted with all of the voter suppression efforts that have come from right-wing governors in red states. He'd be very well acquainted with that under old Twitter. But I get under new Twitter, the haven for hate speech, where that is not something they would be interested in illuminating.
This is a must-win situation. Must win. So I have one ask for everyone in the audience, everyone who watches this video, everyone in the live stream. There's one request. It's very important. Register to vote, and get everyone you know and everyone you don't know, drag them to register to vote. There's only 2 days left to register to vote in Georgia and Arizona. 48 hours.
Now that's fascinating, because when Democrats or liberals or anybody who isn't a trad wife or a red pillar happens to advocate for registration and getting people out to vote, they get a bunch of hate tweets and often promises of cancellation. But here we're applauding it. That is fascinating. That has been received so poorly by you guys. I have clowned the very idea that you are afraid of trying to register new voters because you understand how paltry your platform will look to anybody with an operable brain. So here, I have to tip my cap to you by actually trying to get people out to vote, yet at the same time, identifying what a hypocrite that makes all of you. Oh wait, is this what y'all doing? Y'all throwing money at it? Wow. So you can't trust people to vote openly and freely, so you have to suppress the vote. But then also, when that doesn't work, then you're gonna throw money at it. That is quite an indictment of that platform. I will tell you that, that is quite an indictment.
But wait, there's more.
One thing I would also like to point out is these little subsidies and things they're throwing out don't affect the people up at the very top that are benefited by the Republican platform anyway. We got to figure out ways to get the poors and the disenfranchised either not to vote or put $50 in their pocket. So they'll overlook the fact that that's going to make me $500 million.
Oh, and then make sure they actually do vote. If they don't, this will be the last election. That's my prediction.
Oh, this is kind of awkward, Elon Musk. Actually, Trump he's already covered that ground, but it wasn't if the Democrats win. It would be if he won. They wouldn't have to vote again.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
I really can't even blame you, because that is the kind of misinformation you would have from being on Twitter all day. Oh, I'm sorry, X.
Nothing's more important. Nothing's more important. So get everyone you know. Everyone. So I'm speaking to people out there. Everyone in the crowd, I think, is already convinced. But for people out there that are watching the video, watching the live stream, you need to get everyone you know, at work, your friends, family, text groups, your social media, everything. Get them to register to vote right now. Only 2 days left for Georgia and Arizona. Only a couple weeks left in Pennsylvania. And if they're not registered to vote, it doesn't matter at that point. Register to vote. I'm being repetitive for a reason, okay? So nothing is more important. And a lot of people think maybe their vote doesn't count. Well, it does, okay? It does. It matters. And this election could be decided by 1,000 votes, 500 votes, a tiny margin. So get everyone you know to register to vote. I believe that's swapthevote.com. I believe that's the site. And double check that your registration is good. Don't take it for granted. I'm just being repetitive about this point because it is the one takeaway, more than anything, that will matter is getting those registrations and then getting everyone you know to actually vote. That is what will decide this election, especially in Pennsylvania.
Now, this man is quite wealthy. And he owns companies, he runs companies, and he's been asked, I'm sure, to speak often. And he certainly has the resources in order to, if he didn't have the natural ability, to coach him up in order to get to a point where he has good media training. He can come off well when he's in a public space. How is he still like this? How is he still like this? This doesn't make any sense.
Reason we can now send America astronauts into space.
So thank you, and honestly, you want to just be a pest. Just be a pest to everyone you know, people on the street, everywhere. Vote, vote, vote. Fight, fight, fight. Vote, vote, vote. Thank you.
Yeah, pest is exactly what came to mind for me too. That is exactly what came to mind for me too. Wow. Well, you know what? There's a lesson to be learned there, and that is that money cannot buy a great number of things. They used to always say money cannot buy love. It also cannot buy charisma. It cannot buy stage presence. It certainly cannot buy fashion. It cannot buy humility. Apparently, it also can't buy you out these discrimination lawsuits, because you still got that going on.
Jump again. Jump again.
And it definitely can't buy reality, because giving up and giving that speech about preserving democracy in order to elect the man who couldn't even be protected from himself.
How will you restore faith in our justice system? A lot of people will say, well, he's just going to do to them what they did to him, and get back at them. And
a lot of people say that's what should happen.
Well,
you want to know the truth.
Right. Well, but I think
Laura Ingraham tried to help him out. She tried to help him out and clean up his authoritarian impulses. Now, as far as Trump is concerned, I don't know how you feeling, because here you are trying to make sure that you can hang out, that you in good circles, you can hang out with the cool kids and things like that. And now you got Elon Musk next to you. You know you need his money, and you know you need his platform, so you can't cut him off all the way. But how you feeling right now? You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be feeling like you gave a freshman a chance and he just lit you up at the party. Got like, who brought him? Who brought this dude? Oh, dang. I told him don't bring that spinner hat. This man came to the party in hard bottoms. Well, Trump, look, if you're looking for a way out, you ain't heard this from me, but Elon Musk been talking to Buttigieg. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He been talking to Buttigieg. You ain't heard this from me. And he said he doing a good job.
Response has been so bad to the hurricane. This response has been horrific.
But didn't Elon praise Pete Buttigieg, saying he cleared the way for some of my helicopters to come in? He praised Buttigieg.
Well, that was 2 days late, because what happened is he sent his great, gadgets in. He has the Starlinks. It's incredible for communication. But they were asking me, the people of North Carolina and representatives, they said, could you possibly speak to Elon Musk and get it? And Elon came through, and then they sent it in, and they wouldn't allow it to go in. And it took 2 days, and then Buttigieg, as you said, Buttigieg called, and I guess after 2 days late, though.
Oh no! Don't do that. Don't attack Buttigieg. You don't want them problems.
Well, the American people disagree. They do.
Well, no, the American people disagree with you, because every year they buy more EVs.
No,
why do you think they're buying more EVs every year than before?
Because it was present the numbers, because every
1.2 million vehicles were purchased last year, and every single
how many
quarter,
of them were government?
How's that?
How many of them were purchased by the government?
Approximately 0.5%.
Of the number, you're saying
of the EVs, about 0.5% were purchased by the federal government.
The only reason why people are buying them is because of the subsidy.
Well, the subsidy makes them more affordable and helps people buy them. That's true.
Thank you. My time has expired.
He is the school bully. Don't let him find out you out here. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I very much appreciate the support. And as I mentioned previously, we got membership now. Yes, it was something that you guys suggested, and a suggestion that I took and moved forward with. And it's something I'm really super excited about. That's going to give me the ability to give people early access to videos and ad-free experience, and also be able to record things on the go when I'm not necessarily in my perfect environment. I have something I just want to drop in real quick. I have the ability to do that. The ability to give you guys deep dive investigation pieces, some of the stuff that may not necessarily be topical, but stuff that deserves your attention. And of course, some of the uncensored content as well, because Lord knows the kind of stuff that I have to cut out of my videos can make pieces in and of themselves. Well, now I have the ability to do all of that. So sincere thank you to everybody that has joined the channel already. I can't wait to see where this goes. That is fascinating, that a man would come to this country and rail against immigrants unless he doesn't consider himself to be an immigrant for some odd reason. I guess immigrants can only look or be a certain way. Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and this is Who Raised Y'all? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page, and shout out to all of our new members here on the channel. This is where we highlight those unique individuals who are going above and beyond to make our society worse. the people you will see asking to speak to the manager at the pearly gates. Now, we've all seen Elon Musk uncoordinated jumping into our 2024 election.
Is the only reason we can now send American astronauts into space. Come here. Take over, Elon. Yes, take over.
Hi, everyone. As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA.
Well, as Donald Trump's niece, Mary Trump, wrote in Substack, he was celebrating his recent purchase of a new individual. Quote, Donald Trump has always been for sale. Given this decades-long pattern, it's not surprising that the world's richest fascist, South African jumping bean Elon Musk would also be interested in purchasing a few shares in a man who's willing to sell whatever it is he can get his hands on, whether it's stakes or American national security, because he values money more than anything. I would also add the sneakers and the watches and the Bibles. You think those Bibles come with both Corinthians? Come with two Corinthians, right? And if you're possibly wondering exactly how significant the impact could be of Elon Musk's recent purchase of Donald Trump, I give you Exhibit A.
So that there's a lot of fat in government that you would want to slim down.
Incredible fat.
So what agencies would you want to shut down?
Well, let me have you ask another person that, because I'm going to have Elon Musk. He is dying to do this. You know, he's a great business guy, actually. You think of him for science and rockets, and every time I think he's telling me about a new screw that was developed, he's developed a new screw. Screws are difficult, and it's made out of titanium, and it's so exciting. But you know what? He's a great business guy, and he's a great cost cutter. You've seen that. And he said, I could cut costs without affecting anybody.
So he will be in the cabinet?
Not in the cabinet. He doesn't want to be in the cabinet. He just wants to be in charge of cost cutting. We'll have a new position, Secretary of Cost Cutting, okay? Elon wants to do that. And we have incredible people. He's running a big business. You know, he can't just say, oh, I think I'll go into the cabinet. You know, other people can. He can't. But Elon's a little bit different in that sense. And besides that, I want him to send the rocket up to Mars. He said, he's made me a promise he'll get to Mars before the end of my administration, which will be long before, hopefully, China or Russia.
My man just couldn't even name one thing. He just like, they got it. They good. They good down there. You know, the kind of boss that has no idea what happens on the floor, which, by the way, that is the kind of boss that you want. The kind that just has no idea how the operation even works. What are they doing down there? What's with all that twirling? They're making dough, sir. You own a pizza shop? Which completely diminishes any significance of him disavowing Project 2025. Because as I stated at the time, there's a realistic possibility he has no idea what that is, because there's a realistic possibility he has no idea what many basic things are that the rest of us learn in junior high school. That's why he has completely run out of gas on the campaign trail. He can't explain anything. He just loafing around while people play music. Also, I would like to amend my prior statement. I actually would not like to work for Donald Trump because he doesn't pay people. And also because of the ends. And we saw the effects of the Elon Musk-Donald Trump partnership already, as Trump's campaign connected with Elon Musk last month to discuss hacked Trump campaign materials, which were circulating on the platform before X blocked links to the files and banned the independent journalists who published the materials. The research dossier published by Ken Klippenstein, allegedly the result of an Iranian government-supported hacking operation contained internal communications from a senior Trump campaign official and materials the campaign had put together on Senator J.D. Vance before Trump named him his running mate. Following his publication of the dossier on Substack last month, Klippenstein shared that his X account had been suspended for violating the platform's rules on posting private information. An X spokesperson told CNN that Klippenstein had been temporarily suspended from the platform for violating our rules on posting unredacted private personal information. But Klippenstein later shared a screenshot showing he had been permanently banned. CNN was told that the Trump campaign had a conversation with X officials about the hack materials before Klippenstein was banned and links to his newsletter were blocked. Now, while Klippenstein's posts on X contained a link to his Substack page, itself containing a link to a PDF of the dossier, he didn't directly share Vance's information on the social media platform. X's suppression of the dossier came in contrast to Meta's approach, which opted to block users from sharing Klippenstein's newsletter, but allowed both his Instagram and Facebook accounts to remain active, which is just one better than me, because they didn't allow mine to remain active, and I didn't post nothing. What's up with that, Zuckerberg? In July, Politico flagged that its reporters had received emails from an individual offering a similar trove of private documents from inside the Trump campaign. Both the Times and the Washington Post likewise reported being contacted by someone with campaign information. All three outlets ultimately opted against publishing the materials that were later reported to have been the result of a hack. Now, the move by Elon Musk and X to block links to the newsletter comes after Musk selectively released Twitter company documents, which he dubbed the Twitter files, claiming that the U.S. government illegally coerced the social media company into censoring links to a 2020 New York Post article about Hunter Biden. Company executives later said they regretted the decision, and Twitter's own lawyers later wrote that the government did not engage in coercion or censorship. Musk has styled his 2022 acquisition of Twitter, which he regrettably renamed X, as an attempt to foster a so-called free digital public square and railed against censorship. But the ban on Klippenstein and suppression of all links to his newsletter in connection with the Trump campaign raises questions about the platform's favoring of Trump. So let's unpack that. Trump officials connecting with Elon Musk in order to make sure that none of J.D. Vance's dossier and any links to any of that materials was being disseminated on his platform. And you juxtapose that with the accusation that Twitter had previously worked in coercion with the Biden campaign in order to suppress information about Hunter Biden. So this was something that apparently was so much of a problem that you released private documents from your own company, but then you turn around and do the very thing that was so problematic before in order to protect Trump. You know, I gotta wonder, like, who raised Elon Musk? Like, who, do you know we can see you, right? You understand we can see you. That makes about as much sense as trying to work to promote one of the political parties and one specific candidate to such a degree that you start hosting him on your platform and showing up to his campaign events and jumping in an uncoordinated fashion. Your ability to help him is totally kneecapped by virtue of the fact that we can all see just how shameless and one-sided you're being. I mean, really, that is just basic logic. Like, we learned that in school. Like, was he homeschooled? Like, I don't understand how he got, who raised Elon Musk? Actually, I wasn't even talking about that. I wasn't talking about that neither. These are all phenomenal, but keep going.
I had this one guy who would want to see me, and when I had nothing, else to do, then I would see him. But he was very insulting to people and rude, and I didn't really like him that much. But then, otherwise, I just sat at home, you know. After a couple of years, my brother banned him from seeing me. For 2 years, I didn't see him. I graduated and went to live in Cape Town, and he came to visit me, just turned up with an engagement ring. And I said, I'll never wear it. And then he went back and told my family that I'd agreed to marry him, which surprised my family because they didn't know I was seeing him and I wasn't. And then I just got this telegram from my parents, congratulations. The wedding arrangements are made, the invites are out, and 800 people are coming. I called him, I said, what do you mean I'm marrying you? And he said, I will change when we get married because then I'll be kinder and nicer. I'm just aggressive because you won't marry me. So I did believe him. And then I fell pregnant on honeymoon.
Now that all makes perfect sense. It really, really does, because as much as I want none of Elon Musk on my television, on my screen, on my phone, he just won't go about his business. Like, he really forcibly presents himself to all of us on a regular basis. Like, I have had my fill. I have checked out. I have walked out of the store, and they're following me to the parking lot, still trying to sell me jelly. Like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good on Elon Musk. And then one of our subscribers and members here on the channel, Carlene, sent me this. According to a report from the Wall Street Journal, Musk poured tens of millions of dollars into Republican campaigns and conservative groups even before he publicly endorsed Trump in July. Conservatives helped conceal his contributions through so-called social welfare or dark money groups that don't have to disclose their donors and can raise unlimited funds. And that would have been useful, and those kind of contributions would have continued to go unnoticed, you know, if he didn't show up and jump like a fourth grader at the campaign. Man, clout really is a hell of a drug. One piece of reporting stood out. The newspaper found that the tech billionaire donated more than $50 million in 2022 for campaign advertisements by Citizens for Sanity, a group connected to former Trump aide Stephen Miller and his nonprofit America First Legal, which bills itself as the long-awaited answer to the ACLU. Ah, yes, we've all wanted an answer to the organization that protects our civil liberties. Yeah, we've all been looking for somebody to tamp that down. And by the way, this is the Stephen Miller in question.
We just have to address the elephant in the room. We're getting a lot of texts from women about Miller and his appearances and his appearance. Our audience at primetime believes you're some sort of sexual matador. What do you have to say for yourself?
Well, let me give advice to any young man that's out there. I'm married now, I have children, but I wasn't married that long ago. I was single, I was in the market. If you're a young man, it's very important in election season, who's looking to impress ladies, to be the alpha, to be attractive. The best thing you can do is to wear your Trump support on your sleeve. Show that you are a real man. Show that you are not a beta, right? Be a proud and loud Trump supporter, and your dating life will be fantastic.
I cannot wait to see the text tonight.
What would he want with Stephen Miller? I'll keep reading. Ties to Miller back in 2022 illuminate Musk's current penchant for posting about immigrants. Musk has increasingly aligned himself with xenophobic anti-migrant plans and trans hysteria championed by Miller within the Trump administration. That is fascinating that a man would come to this country and rail against immigrants unless he doesn't consider himself to be an immigrant for some odd reason. I guess immigrants can only look or be a certain way. Is that what I'm supposed to take for all of that? I mean, what could have created the kind of mind that would look at the world in such a way?
I, Nelson Mandela, do hereby swear to be faithful to the Republic of South Africa.
That moment in South Africa when Nelson Mandela became president, giving hope to people not just in South Africa, but around the world. An anti-apartheid activist and former political prisoner inaugurated as president of South Africa just 4 years after the end of apartheid. But for Afrikaners, meaning South Africans of European descent, it was a moment of panic. Think Jim Crow America.
All I want is my churches must be white, my schools must be white, and my residence area should be white also.
And while some Afrikaners welcomed the end of apartheid, many others fled in fear of black power. It was known as the White Exodus. Some of MAGA's most significant backers were teenagers or very young adults when apartheid was eradicated. The Financial Times ticks them off. We have Elon Musk, who lived in South Africa until he was 17.
Now it's starting to, now it's starting to land. Now it's starting to make a little bit of sense. One thing I find so fascinating, though, is that if I would have grown up in that kind of world, that kind of environment, and I objected to the subjugation of the black South Africans at the time, then I would be pretty vocal in my assertions of equality once I emerge from that. Like I happen to think that that amount of warping, if I saw it as being problematic, would have me be pretty loud in divorcing myself from that kind of world. Now, at minimum, I could say, because we all have different personalities and different makeups, maybe it triggers me, and maybe I just don't interact with that at all. Maybe I just can't interface with it, and so I run as far away from it as possible. Those are two possible non-racist reactions that I could see from somebody that grew up in that environment. But for you to emerge from that environment and rail against immigrants, rail against DEI, and have discrimination lawsuits levied at you and your company leaves me nowhere to go. But that is what you see as the correct construction of society. You let me know where to go, Elon.
The Financial Times ticks them off. We have Elon Musk, who lived in South Africa until he was 17. David Sachs, the venture capitalist who left as a child and who has become a fundraiser for Donald Trump and a troll of Ukraine. Peter Thiel, an early Trump backer who spent years of his childhood in South Africa and Namibia, where his father was involved in uranium mining as part of the apartheid regime's drive to acquire nuclear weapons. And a lesser-known Paul Ferber, a South African software developer and tech journalist living near Johannesburg, who has been identified by two teams of forensic linguists as the originator of the QAnon conspiracy, an allegation Ferber denies.
Wow! Not only Trump's Elon Musk, but Vance's Peter Thiel, both emerging from South Africa. Ooh, that puts a spin on this ticket. It really puts a spin on this ticket. And beyond this ticket and what some of the ramifications might be, how about the fact that they all have found a very comfortable home on the right wing? I'm gonna need to holler at a great many of you and asking, what are the chances that three of your biggest financial backers came from apartheid South Africa? Just a coincidence, right?
All of these men, their formative experiences in apartheid South Africa. Now, we in America are facing a moment when our politics are turning into their politics. MAGA is sounding more and more like the old Afrikaner parties, ranting about low birth rates, going after immigration and portraying immigrants of color as violent savages. The idea that democracy will end if their white male patriarch is not elected. They're going so far as to lie about the opposing party, about whether the Biden-Harris administration is actually helping people in a hurricane, or lying and claiming disaster relief funds are being diverted to help undocumented immigrants. Lies, lies, all lies. And let's not forget their overarching lie about climate change being a hoax. Even as Hurricane Milton strengthened from a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane in just over a day, part of a trend of rapidly intensifying storms fueled by the climate crisis. But instead of putting their energy toward helping those in need, these Republicans are looking to terrify people with racist, dehumanizing lies about Haitians or Venezuelans, and Trump's now thrown in people from the Congo. The point is to terrify white voters and vulnerable voters of color into running into the arms of the autocrat, Trump, the only one who can save them from the savages.
Now I have another question that occurred to me, because you watched the beginning of this clip where they showed the archival footage from the 80s in South Africa and saw how cringy and uncomfortable that was to see people speaking and responding to other human beings in that way. That was 40 years ago. MAGA, y'all think y'all gonna look different? I'm just wondering, like, you just, from what you just saw, you think you gonna look different when we look back on this time, given that everything is, I'm just wondering. You know what I mean? Because we all got phones now. It's going to be a lot of archival footage, all right? It's going to be a whole lot of it. Matter of fact, I saw the flag my man had. We just saw the same flag at the Laura Trump boat party. So, oof. It's going to be a lot of clips. That's all I'm saying. It's going to be a whole lot of clips.
It is the Afrikaning of American politics, which should alarm us greatly, given the brutality, fascism, and racism of the apartheid era, and how right-wing Afrikaners like Elon Musk may have been shaped by growing up and coming of age during the institutionalized oppression of black people and its abrupt, ignominious end. The Financial Times notes how Musk warned in 2023 about potential genocide of white people in South Africa. Trump's recent claim about American girls being raped and murdered by savage criminal aliens preyed on similar white fears. It is far from a coincidence that this is happening as Democrats are fielding a black presidential candidate for the third time in 5 elections, and why the leader of the Republicans is now an extremist known for enabling white supremacists and who is reviving race science as part of the discourse, as he did again in an interview today on conservative commentator Hugh Hewitt's podcast.
You know, now a murderer, I believe this, it's in their genes. And we got a lot of bad genes in our country right now.
Now, on that point, Trump, we can actually agree. We have indeed a lot of bad genes in our country right now. I just think we're looking in opposite directions. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and also a special thank you to all of our subscribers and members here on the channel. I'm just about to roll out the first batch of badges and emoji, and I'm taking your suggestions on what you think would look nice in the chat or look nice next to your name when you leave a comment. Email me at reese@reesewaters.com and let me know what your suggestion would be. We are on the precipice of 200K. What do we do? We throw a party? We do a special live? You know what? I'm gonna surprise you.
Senator Cruz treats our border communities like he's going on some kind of a safari. He comes down, he puts on his outdoor clothes, he tries to look tough, and he goes back to Washington and does nothing to help. In fact, he does worse than nothing. On January 6th, when a mob was storming the Capitol, he was hiding in a supply closet.
Stop! Stop! He's already dead! Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and this is Who Raised Y'all? This is where we highlight those specific individuals who are doing their absolute best to make our country worse.
You look great. Thank you, darling. Also, we have many Azerasians in our room.
You know, the kind of people that'll be asking to speak to the manager at the pearly gates.
Where's your manager? Can I speak to your manager?
By the way, if you have any suggestions, be sure to email me at reese@reesewaters.com, and shout out to all our new members here on the channel. Here, we are going to celebrate a cavalcade of pick-me's. Now, I have used the phrase pick-me a number of times here on this channel, and for those of you that aren't clear, a pick-me is defined in the Wiktionary as a person who acts against their own interests, typically marginalized group, in the hope of obtaining majority favor. And the thing about a pick-me, we've seen a number of pick-me's. We see black pick-me's, we see female pick-me's. It never ends well. No, it never ends well. That is where the leopard face eating party comes from. But as a matter of fact, we'll probably be cueing the music a number of times. Go ahead and just go ahead and let me rock out with it one more time real quick. Today's first nominee, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Now, as I have outlined before, there are two kinds of ops that we face right now as a country. There are the kind of ops that don't know any better. That's just how they was raised. This is MAGA and Boebert and Byron Donalds and Trump. And then there are those who absolutely know better, but saw an opportunity to get closer to power, and so they enabled the first group to run unchecked. So really, it's just a matter of time before there's a reckoning for the second group when they realize just the damage that they have done by enabling the first group. Cue the report.
A new book by Associated Press Washington bureau chief Michael Tackett reveals this, quote, Mitch McConnell said after the 2020 election that then President Donald Trump was, quote, stupid, as well as being ill-tempered, a, quote, despicable human being, and a, quote, narcissist. And he said all that. That's what Mitch McConnell lettered Donald Trump before the insurrection. More from the AP. Privately, McConnell said in his oral history that, quote, it's not just the Democrats who are counting the days until Trump left office, and that Trump's behavior only underscores the good judgment of the American people. They've had just enough of the misrepresentations, the outright lies, almost on a daily basis. And they fired him. And for a narcissist like him, McConnell continued, that's been really hard to take. And so his behavior since the election has been even worse, by far, than it was before, because he has no filter now at all. Now, before those Georgia runoffs, McConnell said Trump is, quote, stupid, as well as being ill-tempered and can't even figure out where his own best interests lie. Like we said, in a normal world, that would be a thunderclap, enough to completely derail a political campaign, a candidate leading a political party.
Nicole Wallace is exactly right here, and I can't figure out who bothers me more in this moment. Mitch McConnell feeling this way about a candidate that he would later help to get on the precipice of the White House, or the fact that Donald Trump can so clearly behave in such an objectionable way and yet still be on the precipice of the White House. Because Mitch McConnell ain't said nothing that I ain't seen.
So when we say that's not what it is anymore, this is an example that proves that out. An admission that you're on the side of the violent extremists who attacked the U.S. Capitol, and the number one Republican in the Senate calling you, quote, stupid, quote, despicable, and, quote, a narcissist. All that happened in the last 24 hours. Should be devastating, again, to a politician. someone seeking to run the government. But we live in a world where the GOP has splintered in two, rather violently. On one side, a robust authoritarian movement that demands you toss your views aside or become an outcast. People like Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger. Case in point, Mitch McConnell now supports the man he described in his own words in something called a personal oral history as stupid and despicable. His words on a tape recording he made and shared with a reporter.
Ooh, that's going to be awkward. That is going to be awkward. Mitch McConnell had an opportunity to stand on business, or as I would say, do his civic duty, actually abide by the oath that he took when he entered into office. He had an opportunity to do that. He has chosen repeatedly not to do that. And now it has become public how you really feel about the man whose feet you have chosen to kiss. Welcome to the world of a pick-me.
And on the other side, a small but growing group of disaffected Republicans and independent-minded voters. That split, particularly when it applies to January 6th and Donald Trump's disdain for the hallmarks of democracy, has given Vice President Kamala Harris an unprecedented opportunity and opening that she is seizing on with Republicans and independents.
Oh, Mitch McConnell, this ain't gonna go good. This ain't gonna go good. This ain't gonna go good at all. Cause I tell you this, it's gonna put some of the other things that has happened in a whole new light. Cause are we talking about this Mitch McConnell?
I think the demonization of Ukraine began by Tucker Carlson, who in my opinion ended up where he should have been all along, which is interviewing Vladimir Putin. And so he had an enormous audience, which convinced a lot of rank and file Republicans that maybe this was a mistake. I think the former president had sort of mixed views on it. We all felt that the border was a complete disaster, myself included. And Chad, you remember covering the phases we went through. First, there was an effort to make law, which requires you to deal with Democrats. And then a number of our members thought it wasn't good enough. And then our nominee for president didn't seem to want us to do anything at all.
Not this Mitch McConnell.
Former President Trump has proposed a 200% tariff on John Deere tractors if they're made in Mexico. Are you concerned that some of these tariff proposals by the GOP nominee could drive up costs for consumers or hurt bourbon exporters in Kentucky, for example?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of tariffs. They raise the prices for American consumers. I'm more of a free trade kind of Republican that remembers how many jobs are created by the exports.
Not this Mitch McConnell.
Do you feel your party is responsible for those setbacks?
Many of them, yeah. We took too long. This issue was like a family reunion, if you will, with a lot of different points of view being expressed around the table. All the Democrats were for Ukraine. There's no question that the debate was in our family, on our side, and there was a lot of skepticism for a long time.
This the same Mitch McConnell who blocked Merrick Garland for 8 months, claiming it was too close to the election, but then ran through Amy Coney Barrett 8 days before the election, after millions of people had already voted.
I think, like each of you, I tend to judge people by what they do and not by what they say. And I think Mitch McConnell, like many Republicans, who says all these negative things, he said that Donald Trump was unfit for office, but simultaneously, while Mitch McConnell was majority leader, helped facilitate Donald Trump in all his power moves and everything he did, including Mitch McConnell stood up and would not impeach Donald Trump. And I don't know how you don't impeach somebody that you think is unfit for office in the course of this. And so, I mean, they have hated each other. Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, they don't like each other. But in the end, I actually, in many ways, am more disturbed by people like Mitch McConnell and others like him.
And it's at this point, I would like to make one very specific point. Rarely is it so clear that we have a politician acting in his own best interests at the expense of the country. What we know is that Mitch McConnell has enabled a man he describes as despicable to get closer to the nuclear codes and having immunity according to the Supreme Court. He has enabled that to happen because it was better for him personally. And it's all out there. Like, we kind of think that this is kind of what they're doing. I've alluded to this is what they're doing. It seems pretty clear this is what they're doing. Rarely do we have it in his own words, him telling you this is what he's doing. And now he finds himself in a situation where you have no choice. You're not gonna stand on those words. Mitch McConnell, you gonna stand on those words and endorse Kamala now? Huh? Is that what you're gonna do? You got no choice but to go back home and beg for your supper from the man that we all know you described as despicable. That is how pick-meism goes, because you knew better. You knew better, and you let them gain more and more power and influence every single day that you sat there and said nothing and greased the skids and let it happen. Now look at you. Our second nominee, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Speaking of now look at you, somebody that was willing to overlook Donald Trump alluding to his dad being involved with a presidential assassination. The man who threw his own wife under the bus when Donald Trump went rogue on social media. You made all of that be okay because it was better for you personally, and you thought it would help you retain power. Now look at you.
I have to say, you can't be for the mob on January 6th and for the officers. You can't. And it's not funny, because you're a threat to democracy. Sure. I was on the House floor when we went through the votes. I remember when you objected to the results in Arizona. After he'd gone around the country lying about the election, after he'd been the architect of the attempt to overthrow that election, when that mob came, Senator Cruz was hiding in a supply closet. And that's okay. I don't want him to get hurt by the mob. I really don't. This election is his accountability. You cannot just be patriotic when your side wins. If for the first time in 250 years, this project of ours, this shared American project, that we did not have a peaceful transfer of power, the folks responsible have to be held accountable.
Y'all want to see a dead body?
This is a pattern. He talks tough, but he never shows up. We have a phrase for this in Texas, all hat and no cattle. That's what Senator Cruz is. 6 more years of this? Come on. He's had 12 years to do it already. Give someone who actually will a chance.
Stop! Stop! He's already dead!
Stop! He's already dead!
But time and again, Senator Cruz treats our border communities like he's going on some kind of a safari. He comes down, he puts on his outdoor clothes, he tries to look tough, and he goes back to Washington and does nothing to help. In fact, he does worse than nothing. When the toughest border security bill in a generation came up in the United States Senate, $20 billion for border security, he said, we don't need a border bill. That's what he said. On January 6th, when a mob was storming the Capitol, he was hiding in a supply closet. And when the toughest border security bill in a generation came up in the United States Senate, he took it down.
So Ted Cruz, you thought that enabling MAGA and pretending to be one of the boys was going to get you over? You thought they were going to circle back and support you? Is that what you thought? You thought that made them magically like you? I find it hilarious that literally nobody is coming to Ted Cruz's aid. Literally nobody is trying to help Ted Cruz, and it is hysterical. You made that bed yourself because once again, you knew better. You knew better, Ted Cruz, and you let these lunatics run the asylum, and now you mad that none of them are gonna help you retain your seat. That is how pick-meism goes. Cue the music. I never thought lovers would eat my face. I never thought. Our third pick-me nominee, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. You know, Florida gave us Byron Donalds, Matt Gaetz, Anna Paulina Luna, Marco Rubio, and Ron DeSantis. They have really skated under the radar. They absolutely have skated under the radar. They deserve to get dragged way more than they do. All right, run the report.
Investigation into Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. The House Ethics Committee has released a statement on the probe into a number of serious allegations, including sexual misconduct. Rachel Scott is on Capitol Hill with the exclusive details. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, Rebecca, good morning to you. Yes, this is a rare and unusually detailed statement from the House Ethics Committee, making it clear that it's still looking into Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. And it comes as ABC News learns new exclusive details about what witnesses told the committee.
This morning, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is under investigation. The House Ethics Committee revealing that it is continuing to probe Gaetz over explosive allegations, including that he engaged in sexual misconduct and illicit drug use, accepted improper gifts, and that he sought to obstruct government investigations of his conduct. Sources tell ABC News the committee has interviewed at least a half a dozen women who allegedly attended parties where the Florida congressman was also present, and who were paid by Gaetz' one-time close friend Joel Greenberg, who pleaded guilty to wire fraud and trafficking a minor. ABC News learning the committee has obtained Gaetz' Venmo records. Sources say one woman testified that a Venmo payment from Gaetz was for others saying they were paid to attend parties with Gaetz that featured drugs. The Republican lawmaker and close ally of Donald Trump has denied all the allegations against him. In a tweet Monday, Gaetz saying in part, "Every investigation into me ends the same way, my exoneration." But last year, the federal government informed Gaetz it was declining to bring charges, allowing the committee's probe to now resume.
The House Ethics Committee declined to comment on our new reporting. In a separate statement, the committee says that it's no longer pursuing allegations that the Florida congressman shared inappropriate videos on the House floor or misused state identification records. If investigators on the committee do find any evidence of wrongdoing, it can recommend for the full House to take action, including censure or expulsion.
Now, if you're scoring at home, Matt Gaetz orchestrated Kevin McCarthy getting booted from the speaker's chair because he wouldn't step in and save and protect him from these kinds of investigations. What that tells everybody else is that you are not somebody to be trusted. And in fact, the sooner they can get out from under you, the better, because you have become a threat to everybody. That is a pick-me lesson. The behavior that you exhibit is the behavior that we all notice. Pick-me might get you into the chair, but it might be the same pick-me behavior that gets you booted out the chair. Pick-me might have got you into the good graces, but it doesn't mean anybody actually has to respect you. And while we're on the topic of Matt Gaetz, I feel like I heard his name. Didn't I hear his name recently?
I say that we evict Kamala Harris from the White House faster than my best friend Matt Gaetz evicted Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
That is your best friend, isn't it, Bolbert? It is your best friend. So you know about what you got to do. Because that's your best friend. That's why you say it. So that's why I said you probably had something to do with him deciding to leave the house looking like that with the makeup. But also, I'm just trying to make sure, are you on the Venmo? Like, what's going on with that? Also, it makes perfect sense why you say that your backyard is like an episode of Narcos, because you got Matt Gaetz, not to mention your own son and ex-husband, and you. Oh, no wonder it looked like Narcos. Let that be a lesson to all pick-me's. You showed everybody who you are, and now nobody will trust you. Cue the music.
I never thought the leopards would eat my face. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face.
One last thing I would like to bring up before I sign off. One of the things that I heard when Kamala Harris was on Fox News talking to Bret Baier, she alluded to Donald Trump and his threats towards protesters.
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy.
Now, I'm just wondering how that landed with the uncommitted. I'm wondering how that landed with the uncommitted. Not necessarily the fact that she alluded to it, but what she alluded to, the fact that he has talked about the enemy within and using the military.
I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
I'm just wondering how that's landing with the uncommitted. And while we're on the topic of uncommitted as well as pick-me's, noted Green Party candidate Jill Stein picked up a very significant endorsement this week.
This is David Duke. I'm going to shock a number of people, and some of my own supporters maybe. I'm going to do what's good for white people, Europeans. I endorse for President of the United States, Green Party candidate, Dr. Jill Stein.
Well, congratulations, Jill Stein. They picked you. Very, very well done. I would like to congratulate you as well as Matt Gaetz and Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell. Y'all have all played yourselves to a significant degree, to the point where I have to ask, who raised y'all? If you got any suggestions for future nominees, go ahead and email me, or you can leave them in the comments. When you've been able to successfully get out from under not having disciplinary action, when we know that you lied when you filed your initial report and you're able to be elected to Congress, what you don't want to do is post "these Haitians are wild," voodoo, and they better get their ass out the country, because now we all know about it. What you doing? Welcome to Racist of the Week. My name is Reese Waters. This is where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. You can email me at reese@reesewaters.com. Now, the good news is I finally get to use a jersey from my beloved Bayou Bengals. What can I say? I love the color purple. Maybe that's why I'm a Lakers fan. The bad news is it means some racism just went down. Today's nominee, Louisiana Congressman Clay Higgins. Now, first, let's go off what we know. This started with Trump's statement at the debate.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
We also know that the evidence for this is literally the worst. Starting with a now deleted Facebook post from Erica Lee about a neighbor's cat that went missing, adding that the neighbor told Lee she thought the cat was a victim of an attack by her Haitian neighbors. Now, the neighbor in question, Kimberly Newton, said she heard about the attack from a third party and said that Lee's Facebook post misstated her story. Okay, so if we're going by the Facebook post, Even the person who's being described in the Facebook post said that it's not true. We don't even have to go to the Haitian neighbors. The actual person who's in the Facebook post said that the story was misstated. Not to mention the fact that this has now been deleted. Yes, a third different place in Ohio. I know it might be hard for somebody that doesn't exist in what they describe as flyover country, but Ohio is not a town. It is a whole state with multiple different places inside that state. One place called Springfield, one place called Columbus, one place called Canton. They're all completely different places. We also know there's not one person that has gone on record, or else they would have paraded them across Fox News. They would have done the car wash like they used to do when ESPN finally got somebody to go up to Connecticut. But yet that was enough to convince the slowest MAGAs to terrorize Springfield.
You know they eat babies. That is not bullshit. It's true.
So it's not just the dogs and the cats, not just the pets.
It's not just the dogs and the cats. They're full-on vampires.
Right? The eating the dogs, the Haitian community.
If it's true.
No, but it's not true.
No,
that's the thing.
No.
It's not true.
No, let's not do that, because people have come out and said that their cats and dogs hung up in front of people's homes and they saw with their own squad. Now, regardless of I don't know what they were saying about
the Haitian community.
No, about the city council guy or whatever that said that wasn't true, right? Anyone can say that it wasn't true if they didn't hear about it. We saw it all over social media, so I don't think that's racist.
But
I'm so tired of the racism. I believe the Democrats are obsessed with race.
Yeah, like I said, the slowest MAGAs. Now I see why TMZ never shows the reporter who's interviewing the celebrity, because I haven't seen pushback that week since Andrea Mitchell fell asleep on set.
Well, you worked in the White House with him for all those years. Every expectation that, assuming everything goes well, in 5 days we're going to see the president back running around the country again?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that in the...
And while we're on the topic of Amber Rose, I just posted a Racist of the Week about Candace Owens questioning Kamala Harris's ethnicity when she didn't do the same to Amber Rose. She made not one, not two, but 3 videos, all challenging Kamala Harris's racial identity.
Put Iris in quotation marks. Is it possible that Donald J. Harris, when he's fondly remembering Miss Iris, could be speaking about this woman? Yeah, it's possible. Everything's a possibility. Like I said, he's very scant on the details here. What we do know is that he declined to mention this woman. He declined to mention someone that his father married who was completely white. And as I said, I wouldn't have an issue with this if people were forthcoming and spoke about this. The press, as you're out there referring to Janet Jackson, is crazy.
Leave it to Candace Owens to pick up Janet Jackson's wild statements. And you know what? While we're on the topic of Janet Jackson, but back to the topic at hand. Apparently unsatisfied that he was excluded from the group of the slowest MAGAs, this week Clay Higgins posted this wild tweet about Haitians practicing voodoo and flooding into the U.S. from the nastiest country in the Western Hemisphere. The tweet reads, LOL, these Haitians are wild, eating pets, voodoo, nastiest country in the Western Hemisphere, cults, slapstick gangsters, but damned if they don't feel all sophisticated now, filing charges against our president and VP. All these thugs better get their mind right and their ass out of our country before January 20th. Now, there are so many things wrong with that tweet, not the least of which is no Haitians filed a lawsuit against Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. So I didn't know that you could actually become a congressman without knowing who the president and who the VP were. Also, apparently Voodoo, I actually looked this up. Voodoo is apparently some sort of streaming service. So I also had a question about his use of sophistication. So exactly what makes them feel sophisticated? The fact that they're able to file lawsuits? Because people can file lawsuits. That doesn't necessarily make you sophisticated. In fact, some of the most unsophisticated people I have ever known have filed lawsuits. That is not a sign of sophistication. Is it that they're sophisticated that they're filing a lawsuit against J.D. Vance and Donald Trump? Because if that's the case, it's a whole lot of sophisticated people. I don't know anybody who's had more lawsuits filed than Donald Trump. That is a rather large group. I also question your use of the word thug. I went and looked up exactly what the definition, according to Webster's dictionary, of a thug is. It is a violent or brutish criminal or bully. And I haven't known any of these Haitians to have been violent, criminal, or bullies. That being said, the first rule of racism is you do not post your racism. Why would you post that on Twitter? Because Clay Higgins, you could racism without going with that on Twitter. I just outlined how little evidence there is for the pet eating, as well as for the other hallmarks of being a thug. So clearly by thug, you meant brown person. And I'm wondering why you felt like you wanted to publicize your racism, because your racism becomes a lot less effective when you publicize it. I've already made that point with Elon Musk. But two, second rule of racism, once you decide to publicize your racism, now you have drawn attention to yourself. And I typically don't pay attention to Clay Higgins, but since you have drawn so much attention to yourself, now we all know that your record includes allegedly putting a gun to the head of one of your ex-wives, voting for a neo-nacho, and assaulting an unarmed black man while working as a cop. See, we didn't know none of that before you posted that tweet, so thanks for playing. One of Higgins' first appearances in the public record came in a 1992 newspaper article dug up by Bayou Brief, a Louisiana publication. Higgins, then 30, was commenting on Pat Buchanan's run for president, which came a year after the former Grand Wizard David Duke was nearly elected governor of Louisiana. Quote, Duke won't get the vote, Pat will. Pat represents much of the same positions. He explained that to a reporter while attending a Buchanan rally. Regardless of the fact that David's a homeboy and all that, that boy's a nacho, and that's a real problem. Still, Higgins admitted that he'd recently voted for David Duke for governor of Louisiana, and that is a man who once decorated his college dorm room with a nacho flag and pictures of their leader. Thanks for playing. Y'all want to keep going? You want to keep going, Clay Higgins? Because you jumped. You jumped. So I'm guessing you're feeling froggy. Let's keep going. The first of his 3 ex-wives, and that's weird. Can't keep a relationship going, Clay Higgins. I wonder why. The first of his 3 ex-wives wrote while seeking a protective order against him in 1991 that Higgins, quote, put a gun to my head during an argument. She explained that he threatened that if I ever came near the house, he would shoot me. You know who that sounds like, Clay Higgins? That sounds like a thug. That is exactly what that sounds like to me. And really it is just another brick in the house of projection that MAGA and the GOP are continually building as we get closer to the election. You want to keep playing? Clay Higgins, you want? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I can see you do. In 2007, Higgins resigned from the Opelousas Police Department after reportedly assaulting an unarmed black man and then lying about it. The victim stated that Higgins and another officer, John Chawton, attacked him after he didn't consent to a search of his car, according to an internal investigation. The victim stated while on the ground, Higgins grabbed him by the hair and twisted his head and told him to go get his lawyer and called him a P. He stated that he was then kicked while still on the ground, but also didn't see who kicked him. The report also said that Higgins grabbed the victim by the neck and slammed him against his car and struck him in the jaw. Higgins went on to lie about the incident, falsely claiming that he was the one who was assaulted. Imagine that. Later, the now congressman called back the police investigator to admit he wasn't telling the truth. He claimed his decision for new honesty stemmed from confessing his sins to a counselor from Las Vegas. The report concluded something else, that Higgins learned that a third officer who was on the scene during the incident had failed to cover for him and Chawton. Now, let's unpack all of this. Higgins filed a false statement and then cleaned it up when he learned that a third officer wasn't going to back his false statement. And that is somebody that was later elected to Congress. This is the end of times. This is the end of times, because that is something so wild that we just ignore it on the day-to-day. Like, that's like the 10th or 11th most problematic thing about this video that I'm recording right now. The fact that he even made it to Congress after that. I ain't even talking about the ex-wife. I ain't even talking about David Duke. The man has gone on record having filed a false police report. Not only did that not influence his career, that ain't even influence how we feel about police reports. Higgins resigned rather than face disciplinary action, because of course he did, and then he went on to hire Chawton in his congressional office. Now here's the thing, Clay Higgins. When you have something like that in your history, when you've been able to successfully get out from under not having disciplinary action, when we know that you lied when you filed your initial report and you're able to be elected to Congress, what you don't want to do is post "these Haitians are wild," voodoo, and they better get their ass out the country, because now we all know about it. What you doing? Huh? What you doing? I'm just wondering what part of the thuggery is that? What part of the because you got all the other core tenet points of the thuggery, right? But you're not an effective thug. You are a thug, but you are the ignorant kind of thug. You are the ignorant kind of thug who is immediately identified. You identified by that other officer, and you identified by all of us right now. So congratulations, you are our racist of the weekend. And while I'm on the topic, before I head to the next topic, Louisiana, what y'all doing? Huh? You should know enough to vote away from the person with that record. Now, that being said, a bunch of you guys have emailed me this particular story, and I just wanted to acknowledge it and also just use my platform to amplify it however I possibly could, because it's something that I'm monitoring. Now, I'm quoting the Gettysburgian, which is the newspaper of Gettysburg College, which said on Friday afternoon, and this was published a week and a half ago, the family of the student who had a racial slur cut into their body at an informal social gathering of swim team members contacted the Gettysburgian to publicize their statement on the incident, saying their son was the victim of a crime. They said the incident occurred 2 weeks ago on Friday, September 6th at a men's swim team social gathering. There they said the perpetrator, who the victim trusted, used a box cutter to cut the N-word on his chest. They also said the victim was the only person of color at the gathering. The incident was first reported on Wednesday after the Gettysburgian contacted the college for comment. Additionally, the students who are dismissed from the swim team activities amid the college investigation includes the victim, according to the family. Now, the college first addressed the incident on Wednesday, releasing the following statement to the newspaper. The college has received a deeply concerning report of a racial slur being scratched onto a student using a plastic or ceramic tool. This is a serious report which is being actively assessed through the student conduct process. At this point, the students involved are not participating in swim team activities pending the outcome of the student conduct process. Given privacy laws and the ongoing nature of the student conduct process, we're unable to share further details. The swim team's full statement was released on their website on Wednesday night, which I don't understand why releasing a statement on the website would suffice in a case like this. They even said, given the intense focus surrounding the recent events on campus, the Gettysburg swim team feels compelled to address the incident directly. I don't know what's direct about a statement on the website. I know that you need to be sensitive and careful in situations like this where there might be some potential liability, but giving a face with the nature of these allegations would be a good start. Their statement goes, "We acknowledge the past few weeks have been extraordinarily difficult for many people within our campus community and beyond. Our hearts are with everyone who has been directly and indirectly affected by this. The pain and anguish caused by the heinous act that occurred and the media coverage that has followed have affected people far and wide. As a swim team, both collectively and as individuals, these days have been some of the hardest of our lives. The national spotlight has unfortunately led some to believe that our team or the culture within our team is complicit in the racist incidents that took place. This couldn't be further from the truth." Earlier this week, the college confirmed that fact. The student conduct investigation affirmed that the incident is not a byproduct of an unhealthy athletic team culture or reflection on the team itself. Rather, we see in the captains the measure of what it means to be a Gettysburgian by their notification to their coaches. Racism has no home here, neither at Gettysburg College nor on our team. We stand united in condemning the actions that took place. Okay. We will see exactly whether or not that is representative of the team or the college by virtue of what happens next. You have to show us that this is not who you are. Telling us this is not who you are is not nearly enough. We saw in the case with the judge in Michigan, all of whose colleagues have circled the wagons in order to protect her, while also simultaneously saying this is not representative of her or of us, when those two things don't go together. Because when you circle the wagons to protect the perpetrator of something like that, you're revealing that's exactly who you are.
Well, if you're black from any other country, you're doing way better. If you're an American black person, then you're a lazy piece of I can honestly say that, okay, I'm not systemically racist, I'm a new racist. I never was, but now I am because you're shoving the down my throat and making allegations that you don't know about. You're telling me who I am and you've never met me. You.
Investigators also spoke to Oakland County probate judge Daniel O'Brien. He said Judge Ryan's friends are supporting her and believe these statements are totally out of character. Well, that's interesting because she wasn't talking about one particular black person. She wasn't talking about one particular gay person. She called herself a new racist. I don't know what you think character means, but she has clearly articulated the kind of character that she is. And I would like to add, while we're talking about disturbing aspects of this story, okay, I alluded to how many others might be out there. Here you have another probate judge saying her friends are supporting her and believe these statements are totally out of character, in addition to the chief probate judge, Linda Hallmark, who did nothing for 3 months. So you see just how appalled the other judges are by one of their ranks expressing these kind of feelings. I'm gonna need some more investigation. I'm gonna keep paying attention to this as we follow the string of the investigation, and also watch how you all move since this apparently isn't who you are. Don't let it be a Michigan situation, because I didn't just drag the judge, I dragged a whole gang of people because they made me. It was their fault. They acted, dare I say, like thugs. They was acting like thugs. Not just Clay Higgins. This was a whole thug episode. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I especially want to thank those of you that have been emailing me at reese@reesewaters.com. I do look at it, and I wanted to say I've taken a number of suggestions. Just in the past week, I think half the videos were suggested from emails that I received from you guys, so keep them coming. And just because I may not be able to respond doesn't mean that I don't see it, and it doesn't mean that it's not impactful, because the email and the feedback that I get from you guys shapes shapes my perception of the people that are consuming my content. So it really does impact the direction that we take moving forward. So just because I may not respond to your email doesn't mean I don't appreciate it. So thank you guys very much. Of course, we have the website, reesewaters.com. There's some new merch on the website as well, so be on the lookout for that. And by the way, if you get some merch, if you get a shirt or hat or whatever the case may be, send me a photo of yourself with it. Maybe put in the title merch pick or something like that. I could think of a way better subject title. Those of you that have signed up for my newsletter, use the portal on my website. I appreciate you guys for doing that. There'll be a new newsletter that is going out shortly, and in it will be updates on channel membership. That's right, something that you guys have been mentioning to me for a long time. We're finally on the precipice of it, so you can get all the details and the membership. Again, you can sign up on my website or send me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. There is so much on the horizon, and I, for one, am extremely grateful that you're along with me on this ride. But you, Candace, of all people, how you hating from outside the club? You can't even get in. Welcome to Racist of the Week. My name is Reese Waters. This is where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And as usual, if you have any nominees, be sure to leave them in the comments below. You can email me at reese@reesewaters.com. Today's nominee, banned Candace Owens. Now let me say this, because anytime there is a Racist of the Week recipient who is of a certain hue, be it Clarence Thomas or Kanye West, I believe this is actually Candace Owens' first Racist of the Week, which is quite an upset, actually, now that I think about it. That can't be right. Anytime there's a recipient of a certain hue, I get the message, well, black people can't be racist. Black people can't be racist. And you know what? I can pick up what you're putting down, but if you want to tell me that black people can't be racist, then you have to give me another thing to call what it is Candace Owens is doing. Here's my question to you, and I should put a poll on the community tab. Can Candace Owens be racist? Now give that a lot of thought. I'm not asking can black people be racist. I'm asking can Candace Owens be racist? And before you answer, remember this. And also this.
Of course, as I have said since the beginning of time, there are mistakes that police officers are human beings. There are mistakes that happen.
Police are people too. So what exactly was Sonia Massey? Speaking of which, I want to give a shout out to Sante Massey, who is one of Sonia Massey's cousins, who actually came into our live last Tuesday. That was a real shot in the arm and made me feel good about what we're doing on this here platform. Now, to be completely transparent in a Mark Robinson sort of way, I almost did a video about Candace Owens last week during her back and forth with Ice Cube. You remember she tweeted, gangster rap was never black culture. It was created by the feds who proffered deals to homosexual black men in prison and then turned them into artificial celebrities. The goal was to create false idols to destroy black American values. I will never change my mind on this. Now, the first thing, Candace Owens, you sure you want to be the arbiter of what is black culture?
Finish this response. God is good.
God is good. Amen.
No. And do you want to be the arbiter of what gangster rap is and isn't? Are you sure that is a place where you want to be?
A limousine with a chauffeur. That's where I'm at right now. That song really does still slap, you guys. Why am I playing it? Because, well, I told you, I am having the blackest week ever.
Now, I would also like to add that if you wanted to make a point that rap is something that devalues the lives of our youth and shoots them down a path to destruction and plays into the hands of a supremacist society that's looking to keep black and brown people subjugated, I can actually listen to that argument. But you don't believe in any of that. You don't believe in the supremacy, and you certainly don't believe in the systemic racism. You have never met a racism that you won't excuse. Like, open the door for somebody when they're behind you in the parking lot. It's just something you do instinctually, is make excuses for racism. So where exactly are you landing this plane? What would be the reason if not to play in the hands of a systemically racist society? The other thing that I would say, and this is why you are nothing if not doing too much, why they gotta be gay? Why they gotta be gay? Is this like MAGA Mad Libs? Are you sure you didn't want to make them trans? I got a better one for you. Gangster rap was never black culture. It was created by the feds who proffered deals to Haitians who eat cats and dogs in prison and then turn them into trans doctors who perform abortions after 9 months. Like, what is this? Now, Ice Cube would respond, we called it reality rap. The industry coined it gangster rap. The fans wanted gangster rap, and that's what they got. The feds didn't write none of my S. I'm a real MC. Now, far be it for me to dispute Ice Cube, and he definitely was there in the very beginning. I just would like to take a moment to say that Candace Owens is somebody whose logic is so dysfunctional. She made me side with Ice Cube.
First and foremost, anybody telling you that you gotta vote, that it's your duty, that you have to exercise the right, and that people died for you to vote. For one, people did die, but nobody walked out their house to go die for you to vote. They were killed by probably some racists that don't want to see us get anything.
She made me side with Ice Cube in the year 2024. I ain't side with Ice Cube since he made Are We There Yet? With the notable exception of the big three, I am down with the big three, and yes, they definitely should be at the Olympics. Ain't no way they should be combing the stands for anybody with American passport who came to watch the Olympics and have them play 3-on-3 with the red, white, and blue on their back. Come on now, we had a dude in a knee brace. If you want to see where Candace Owens is coming from, look no further than her Diddy videos, which she has blasted out with glee. Somehow she's concerned about Justin Bieber, but when it comes to LeBron, all of a sudden he's a little bit too silent. So I guess for us, we can't even be in his orbit without casting suspicion on us. But for others, it's how have they been victimized. She made not one, not two, but 3 videos, all challenging Kamala Harris's racial identity.
Put Iris in quotation marks. Is it possible that Donald J. Harris, when he's fondly remembering Miss Iris, could be speaking about this woman? Yeah, it's possible. Everything's a possibility. Like I said, he's very scant on the details here. What we do know is that he declined to mention this woman. He declined to mention someone that his father married who was completely white. And as I said, I wouldn't have an issue with this if people were forthcoming and spoke about this. The press, as you're out there referring to Janet Jackson as crazy, right, for suggesting, what did Janet Jackson say? She said that she heard that Kamala's father, Donald J. Harris, was Irish. Can somebody pull up that picture of yours again? she heard that his family was Irish. I think Vioris, maybe Vioris, Cambridge, might be Irish.
Now, I've addressed this obsession with Kamala Harris's race before. Now, let me just cede this to you for the sake of this conversation. Let's assume that Kamala Harris is Indian. Let's assume she's 100% Indian. She's got no black in her whatsoever. Here's a question. Does Kamala Harris being Indian mean that Donald Trump didn't call Colin Kaepernick and NFL players that were protesting back in 2017 SOBs?
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Does Kamala Harris being Indian mean that Trump in the summer of 2020 didn't repeat the Southern strategy dog whistle of law and order, playing to white fears of black crime? Does Kamala Harris being Indian mean that Donald Trump didn't call for the execution of the Central Park Five? And by the way, doubled down on that several times when he's had an opportunity to clean that up. Does Kamala Harris being Indian mean that he didn't claim in Charlottesville that they were very fine people on both sides? Does Kamala Harris being Indian mean that the U.S. Department of Justice didn't have to settle with him for violating the Fair Housing Act, where he was discriminating against renters of color? Does Kamala Harris being Indian mean that Donald Trump didn't have all of the black casino workers removed from the floor when he walked in, according to Kit Brown? Does Kamala Harris being Indian mean that Trump didn't say that black guys counting my money, I hate it? The only kind of people I want counting my money are short guys that wear yarmulkes every day. I think the guy is lazy, and it's probably not his fault because laziness is a trait in blacks. He later said in a 1997 Playboy interview that the stuff that was written about me is probably true. Does Kamala Harris being Indian mean that didn't happen? Does Kamala Harris being Indian mean that he didn't drop an N on a potential apprentice winner who happened to be a black man? Does Kamala Harris being Indian mean that he didn't resort to birtherism when Obama was running for president? Does Kamala Harris being Indian mean that Trump didn't in 2017 claim that people who came to the U.S. from Haiti all have AIDS, or in 2018 say, why are we having all these people come from S-hole countries? At the end of the day, it don't matter if Kamala is Indian as long as Trump is Trump. But you, Candace, of all people, I asked what gave Donald Trump the right and the license to challenge anybody's blackness. I guess it was the indictments. You don't even have that. I'm wondering how you hating from outside the club, you can't even get in. You are basically trying to check people's ID from the prison underneath the stadium. And if you're an Eagles fan, you know. And even this is sorry ground I've covered before.
Black folks, I have a question. Why are you letting them play you with this Indian lady? Why are you letting them convince you to try to vote for this Indian lady for president?
It's white supremacy in blackface.
And don't worry, he's got a new dragon coming.
I got harassed for being a gay Trump supporter at somewhere that is supposed to be a quote-unquote safe space for gays.
Now, the view of the slowest among us in society is that we can't tell the difference.
See, that is a person wielding that weapon. Cain killed Abel, and that's the problem that we have. And I said, what we need to do is look into how we can stop those things. He talked about doing a disinformation. What about getting a department that can look at young men that's looking at women that's looking at just social media? What about doing that, looking into things like that, and we can stop that way?
Black people cannot tell the difference, despite the fact that we vote for white people all of the time. Like if this was somebody who never went to Howard or pledged the Divine Nine or identified as black ever in her life. If this was somebody whose father wasn't Jamaican, we still find ways to vote for those people all of the time.
But Donald Trump has a long history of this. He tried this in my race. This is not the first time he has put forward a black candidate who is unfit and unqualified to serve, with the cynical notion that somehow the electorate will be confused.
And despite me spending the last week roasting Mark Robinson, so clearly many of us can tell the difference. I mean, look at the number of bots that were on Ashley Madison. I can see now why Mark Robinson was on Adult Friend Finder. That makes perfect sense, because he clearly needed a friend as an adult if he's going to pay money just to chat with Chris Rufo on Ashley Madison. That actually makes a lot of sense. Now let's talk about the fact that some of Mark Robinson's most offensive, most racist comments came on an adult message board. Those people didn't even come for that. They definitely did not come for your thoughts on Martin Luther King. They didn't come to hear about the March on Washington or President Obama. And they certainly didn't come to hear about Black Panther or good times. They came for a good time, but not that kind of good time. And by the way, you had no problem letting Amber Rose be black.
Hey, I am like a conservative.
Oh, I'm no longer black.
No, they will take that away. I'm black my whole life.
And she didn't even want to be black. My bad. Sorry, that was the wrong Amber Rose video, which in that case, it actually could have been way worse. You had no problem letting Amber Rose be black, and she didn't even want to be black.
Consider myself a black woman. Absolutely not. I do not consider myself a black woman. Absolutely not. I do not consider myself a black woman.
So what's the issue?
Well, where should we begin? You guys have heard of whitewashing history, but have you heard of blackwashing? Blackwashing is when you're a politician and it's election season and suddenly you have to relate to black people. So you just sort of start making stuff up to blackify yourself, your history. You start dropping a bunch of slang and colloquialisms and hoping that the people will therefore understand you. Honestly, it's become something of a democratic rite of passage. Except this time, I think we may have caught the culprit red-handed. Of course, I'm speaking about Kamala Harris. I think her and her campaign team are really going to regret the day that their media henchmen came for Janet Jackson.
Well, that's good news for the French president and his wife. You're no longer on the French First Lady was born a man beat. Candace, just because you're hiding something doesn't mean the rest of us are hiding something. We all know somebody who's untrustworthy. And what do they always do? Suspicious of somebody else. Because they can't imagine anybody just moving forward and living in their truth. And by the way, see, this is the problem when you admit that you're a conspiracy theorist.
Guys, imagine being married to me. I mean, my poor husband, he rolls over. He's like, what are you reading? And I feel like a regular wife says something, I don't know, maybe a love series, Nora Roberts, sweeping her away. Me, on the other hand, he rolled over, he asked me, and I said, oh, I'm reading a flat earth theory. And it dawned into an entire conversation. He's like, why are you reading a flat earth theory? And I'm like, because somebody messaged me on Manect about it and they included some links and I'm just reading them. I don't know. I'm just an interested person. No matter what, if there's a bunch of people that believe something, I now want to know what it is that they believe. And of course, he pushed me on this and he was talking about the earth curvature and science. And I said to him, listen, I'm not a flat earther. I'm not a round earther. Actually, what I am somebody who has left the cult of science. I have left the mega church of science because what I have now realized is that science, what it is actually, if you think about it, is a pagan faith.
So this is how I have to receive you now. By your own admission, you will dive headlong into anything that a critical mass of people chooses to believe. Where is that critical mass? What's that number? It's clearly nowhere close to 50%, but that's fine for you.
And a picture is starting to come together. Let me say this. If, and I'm not saying this is true, But if we find out that that woman is Kamala's real grandmother, and can we get a side-by-side of Kamala? If we find out that that is Kamala's real grandmother and that she decided to appropriate the domestic help who potentially died younger as her grandmother, we are watching one of the most diabolical political moves that we have ever seen in the history of this country. I just want to say that. I'm not saying it's true, again, but I'm saying that I don't like the picture.
I can tell you about Trump's family. So when you reach your results about Kamala's family, why don't you compare it to Trump's family? And the bar is set at white sheet parties. Okay, that is where the bar is set, at clear linens. That's where the bar is set. So you tell me, Candace, like that evil friend who has the worst spouse in the city, always trying to convince you that yours is cheating too. Your life's work has been proving to us that it's more about culture than it is about skin.
We're going to be having a hearing on white supremacy. We are assuming that the biggest victims of that would be minority Americans. And presumably this hearing would be to stop that and to make sure that we can preserve the lives of minority Americans, which, and based on the hierarchy of what's impacting minority Americans, if I had to make a list of 100 things, white nationalism would not make the list. And we don't see hearings on those bigger issues. You brought up the inner city communities, which is a huge issue. Black on black crime, the breakdown of family, I think is the #1 thing that's contributing to that.
And let's take a look at that. Here's Kamala. And here's Candace. Here's Kamala. And here's Candace. Here's Kamala.
Well, Donald, I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say, say it to my face.
And here's Candace.
Rumors are true. I am free. Welcome to my locals page.
Wait a minute. Candace Owens, are you jealous? Is that what this is about? I think you're jealous. Wait, are you upset that black people have found somebody to feel good about, whereas you are persona non grata even in the parking lot of the cookout? Is that what this is about? Because we've seen that before. You remember when you attacked Meghan Markle? Yeah. And then we found out later that you're really upset that she had just stumbled backwards to a level of royalty that you couldn't mammy your way within, I don't know, 5 social orders of. 'Cause I do. Well, in that case, I will say this. I really hope in your heart of hearts, I really do, that you believe that Kamala is not black. Like, I really hope that you believe this in your heart of hearts. Because that's just gonna make this hurt way more. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I especially want to thank those of you that have been emailing me at reese@reesewaters.com. I do look at it, and I wanted to say I've taken a number of suggestions. Just in the past week, I think half the videos were suggested from emails that I received from you guys, so keep them coming. And just because I may not be able to respond doesn't mean that I don't see it, and it doesn't mean that it's not impactful, because the email and the feedback that I get from you guys shapes shapes my perception of the people that are consuming my content. So it really does impact the direction that we take moving forward. So just because I may not respond to your email doesn't mean I don't appreciate it. So thank you guys very much. Of course, we have the website, reesewaters.com. There's some new merch on the website as well, so be on the lookout for that. And by the way, if you get some merch, if you get a shirt or hat or whatever the case may be, send me a photo of yourself with it. Maybe put in the title merch pick or something like that. I could think of a way better subject title. Those of you that have signed up for my newsletter, use the portal on my website. I appreciate you guys for doing that. There'll be a new newsletter that is going out shortly, and in it will be updates on channel membership. That's right, something that you guys have been mentioning to me for a long time. We're finally on the precipice of it, so you can get all the details and the membership. Again, you can sign up on my website or send me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. There is so much on the horizon, and I, for one, am extremely grateful that you're along with me on this ride. Speaking of whining, aren't you here complaining about what happened to your YouTube platform? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. My name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled because Candace Owens has been suspended from YouTube. From YouTube. I'm sorry. I'm just playing. I ain't troubled. It's a celebration. You know, I was just thinking that this place is really spruced up a bit. You know what I mean? I'm like, it just feels a little bit nicer walking around these YouTube streets. Now, you might be asking, oh, well, if she got suspended, it must be for this.
Of course, as I have said since the beginning of time, there are mistakes that police officers are human beings. There are mistakes that happen, and the idea that now you're going to use this situation and all the usual suspects are already involved, we know that Attorney Crump is already involved, to then try to make Black Americans believe that this happened simply because she was Black is pointedly ridiculous. So I am saying to Black Americans today, do not take this bait. Yes, what happened in this situation, I think he's going to have a very hard time, this officer, saying that he absolutely felt so threatened by boiling water that the only solution was for him to mindfully say, I'm going to shoot you in the face, and that's what he did. I think that's going to be a very steep hill to climb. But the reaction from Black America cannot be exactly what they want. There is a reason that whoever is in control of Joe Biden's account instantly tweeted about this, okay? It's because they think we're stupid. They think we're emotional. They think that we always respond illogically and emotionally, and that it's an easy way for them to shore up votes by saying, oh, look, forget that we've destroyed everything around you and that we got you to burn down your neighborhoods, burn down your neighborhoods in 2020, and then obviously stole a bunch of money because none of that money actually went to making your neighborhoods better. And so now those communities are desolate. Forget all of that because look, another video, and this means racism is back, and vote for us because we're going to show you how emotional we are.
Or maybe it was this. No way. If she was going to be suspended, YouTube must have finally caught wind of this. Actually, no. She was suspended after sharing her 2022 interview with Kanye West that claimed that Jewish people controlled the media.
Whoopity-scoop. Scoop-dee-dee-whoop. Whoop-dee-scoop-dee-poop.
Y'all really thought I was gonna go there? Really? Oh, I got two little kids that are both in daycare. I need this money. Now, Owens made the announcement on Twitter where she revealed she'd been suspended from the platform for 1 week because the interview violated the platform's hate speech policies. Quote, there'll be no show today or at all this week. That's because YouTube has issued me a strike and a 1 week suspension for my sit down with Kanye. They also removed the interview as hate speech as it was mass reported by Zionists. Their tactics never change. She also said that YouTube had demonetized her account, which has 2.4 million followers. Well, you know what, Candace? That's no big deal. You could just go ahead and ask Meghan Markle if she could convince Prince Harry and them to release some of the funds, you know, to the lower royals. Now, I will say it is an interesting defense to assertions that Jews control the media to deplatform someone, but getting booted from the Daily Wire and now YouTube, Candace looked like holding a job is becoming a bit of an issue. It's looking kind of ghetto. I'm gonna be honest. It's looking kind of ghetto over there, Candace Owens. Not to mention, it kind of feels like you have been problematic to work with. You know, just a lot of drama. You know, just a lot of drama wherever you are, wherever you end up going. It's just a whole lot of drama. You know, just a lot of controversy. You know, I can't put my finger on it. It's a lot.
I think I have, when I say tried to take the high road over the last couple of months to the point that it has given me a nosebleed, I have like nothing left here, and there is so much that I would like to say, and there is so much that I am fighting for my right to say, but today I just feel like we crossed into another territory. Everyone can see what's happening. Everyone can at first see the public attacks on me over my, I shouldn't even say it's a belief, just the truth that Christ is king, and something that I will never stop saying as a Christian, nothing that I will apologize for.
So you mean to tell me that you are being attacked for being different? Is that what you're telling me? From having a different point of view, that you are being attacked? That is really interesting. Maybe you should just assimilate, you know? Maybe if you just would have put more effort into assimilating, then you wouldn't have this issue. Now, Candace Owens defending the episode, saying all who watched that podcast know that Ye was calm, filled with love, speaking about the world coming together to defeat evil. Ah, yes, I remember Kanye West during that time. Very filled with love. A lot of love. A lot about the world coming together to defeat evil. That period of time from Kanye West. Now, it was last week that Owens appeared on Piers Morgan's Uncensored, where she clashed with Rabbi Shmuley, one of America's most high-profile Jewish figures. Owens said 2.5 million people watched my debate with Rabbi Shmuley last week. The world knows why I'm being targeted, and frankly, I've never felt more confident that I'm the right person for this to happen. So you're feeling targeted, huh? You know, Candace, why don't you just comply? You know, I don't see why you don't just comply. I mean, there must be a reason, right? If everybody's coming after you, there must be a reason. We don't need to pay attention to any context. You know, we don't need to bring any past history or historical record to bear with this incident. Why don't you just comply? I mean, what are the potential reasons why you could be targeted? I mean, you are still the person who gave a platform to Lily Gaddis, are you not?
Immigrants fresh off the boat looking for a green card. Yes, they are probably gold diggers, but that's the exception. I'm the rule. Everybody I know who's married right now, they're married to broke ass.
A few moments later.
I think this is your first public interview. Is this your first public interview?
And you couldn't resist. You like, no, we have to cape for a fellow racist. We can't, no racist left behind. Which is funny because I did a whole video about Lily Gaddis, and the conclusion I came to was that her dropping ends was literally all that was needed for her to launch a career in far-right media. And boy, was I correct. And you would love nothing more than to help her with that. So, I don't know. Aren't you also the one that had a video all about how you want to ban porn? Maybe it wasn't the Zionists. It might have been Mark Robinson that mass reported you, because I know he couldn't have taken that particular one well.
According to a new report from the Assembly in North Carolina, which has not been confirmed by NBC News, 6 men, yes, 6 men, there are 6 sources to this piece, say Robinson was a regular customer at multiple adult video stores, often paying to view or purchase pornography as frequently as 5 nights a week.
Didn't you just have a video where Ray J debated transgenderism?
These punk and excuse my language, but you know what I'm saying? Be whoever you want to be. Love whoever you want to love. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant when you want to disrespect me and the money team, and we got 7 Rolls Royces outside, and we just made 350 racks on the... Don't disrespect me. I'm going to smack you up again, fool.
Now, I would love to hear Ray J debate a great number of things. I happen to be a bit of a Ray J stan. First among them would be Fabulous and anything involving the Breakfast Club call. I would love to hear more about that. I would also love to hear Ray J debate what he considers unbreakable to mean, like the true definition of unbreakable. I would love to hear Ray J debate that.
I just feel like you're so frivolous with your products, man. You're slapping the table, they're flying everywhere, you're tossing the glasses.
They're unbreakable.
Unbreakable?
They're unbreakable. Break them.
Step on it right now.
No, you step on them.
It's your product.
You step on them.
Go ahead.
Speedy, step on them.
I can't do that.
You can.
I bet you I can break these.
They're unbreakable. Speedy.
They're not unbreakable. Speedy. Don't tell me they're unbreakable.
Listen,
don't challenge me.
Listen.
Don't challenge me, Ray J. I will break them.
Listen, Speedy, they're unbreakable. They cannot break. It's impossible. I don't care.
Transgenderism is not high on the list or at all on the list, but that's who you wanted to debate transgenderism with. Okay, all right, fair enough. Didn't you just have an episode with Andrew Tate, who's currently facing charges in Romania? Yeah, some pretty nasty charges, but seeing as how I don't want to follow you down the rabbit hole of YouTube trouble, so I think people get the gist of those particular charges. So you had Andrew Tate on, where he's getting all this attention because of these charges. You also dropped an interview from 2022 where Kanye admit that he was drinking heavily. He apologized for the tweets because he said he was drinking heavily, and I'm starting to think that you might be the one who's being exploitative. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming at with it. So, you know, I must say, I will enjoy this mini reprieve from Candace. Huh? Oh, she's still on social media? So we don't get no type of break, do we? Leave it to Twitter to ruin my fun. If only it wasn't run by a broken down Tesla truck. So who actually won the debate? Today on the show, we'll decide, and my answer will surprise you. I bet it won't. Why does Kamala keep doing this haiku trio format for every answer? I have a plan, I have a plan, I have a plan. Oh, I see, as opposed to, say, having a concept of a plan, right?
Yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
So after the right wing has spent all this time saying that she doesn't give any details, that she's just too generic when it comes to her policy, her saying that she has a plan is now a problem. Is that what I'm gathering? That she has a plan is a problem? As far as the haiku is concerned, I feel you. I've never been a fan of haiku myself. I tend to prefer the 3-word 4-sentence format.
She doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Can we please skip past this super fake emotional plea to women? Absolutely no one is being reduced to tears by the mere thought of aborting their child. And if they are, Kamala, we can guarantee you already have their vote. This isn't moving the needle any. Ooh, that isn't going to age well. That's going to age worse than that TikTok.
Can someone track down the women Kamala Harris says are bleeding out in parts?
Present. I'm right here. I had a 19-day miscarriage in Idaho because of the abortion regulations. I was turned away Not from one ER, but 2 ERs. Technically 3, because I walked into one and they said they wouldn't help me and I had to walk out.
While thankfully I've never bled out in a parking lot, I still want to tell you about my second miscarriage. This was a few months before Roe v. Wade was overturned anyways, but still I live in Pennsylvania where you can have access to healthcare if needed. Found out the pregnancy wasn't viable pretty early on. It was very wanted, so we monitored it closely. And so the first time I had to go to the ER because I was bleeding pretty heavily, which was scary.
I'm one of the women that Vice President Harris was referring to in her debate. My husband and I found ourselves in a healthcare crisis when I was seeking emergency care while having a miscarriage. I was denied from 2 hospitals in Louisiana due to Donald Trump's abortion ban. Donald Trump continues to brag about being responsible for this. If he's reelected, his Project 2025 plan will ban abortion nationwide.
But I do want to drop this too. It is interesting that you say that nobody is reduced to tears by the thought of aborting their child because you are pro-life, right? So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that women aren't reduced to tears by the thought of it. So it's just something that they do without it being anything that's at all emotional or there's no caring or feeling involved. It's just something that people just decide to do. So that's a weird argument to make for somebody who's pro-life. It is so shocking to me that Kamala's entire strategy here is to appeal to women with emotion. She clearly knows every question is well rehearsed and making every answer emotional. Why is everything in politics so unbelievably fake and gay? Now, I'll ignore the fake and gay thing. That's a whole nother video. But I would say as opposed to Trump, who of course was appealing to men with emotion, right?
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison.
Kamala is leaning into every plausible stereotype of a nagging woman right now. I desperately need her to stop whining and telling us where exactly she was when she heard some news and how it made her feel. Ooh, if you hate whining, boy, do I have some news for you about what happened after the debate. In fact, there was even whining before the debate.
Why didn't the moderators correct her?
Because they're dishonest and because I think ABC took a big hit last night. I mean, to be honest, they're a news organization. They have to be licensed to do it. They ought to take away their license for the way they did that. Speaking of whining, aren't you here complaining about what happened to your YouTube platform? Is that right? Because you're here talking about what happened and you feeling persecuted and this, that, and other, but you want to talk about somebody's whining. I don't know that she understands what whining means. No, America actually wants an answer to this, Kamala. Are you black or are you Indian? And why did you change your answer when you ran for national office? Now that's funny that you say that America needs an answer to that because Trump even claimed that he didn't need an answer to that.
Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black." I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her.
So I assume by America, you mean you. So if we're demanding that people answer questions for you, I will demand that you answer a question for me. So Candace Owens, are you black? Or are you just post-racial Candace Owens? And why did you change your answer when you got booted from the Daily Wire? Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and especially those of you that have liked and subscribed to the page. Did y'all know I had a website? I know, it's so kind of old-fashioned these days. Yes, I have a website, reesewaters.com. There you'll find my most recent work, but also my past work if you want to know a little bit more about me. You'll also find a portal where you could sign up for my newsletter. You could also sign up by sending me an email at reese@reesewaters.com. You could also send me any suggestions for ideas, something I need to take a look at, or you just want to say hello. And by the way, if you go to the website now, you'll find a little something special. That's right, we got merch. There's mugs there, there's t-shirts there, there's hats there, repping street politics, troubled waters, and of course, Racist of the Week. Where would we be without Racist of the Week? I don't know that I would have any content.